Hello and welcome back again to another video from TrainingRite.com. Um, Today I will be showing you something about what we cover here in our courses. It's a web service course which we have here at TrainingRite, and in the SoapUI as a tool which we use, we basically go over and then cover the following topics. As you could see listed here, you would be learning as how to create the web services with SoapUI. You will be going installing SoapUI, installing local web services. We'll be testing web services. Many web services which we host from our own website, which is TrainingRite.net, and we'll be showing you how to create test suites, test cases, test steps. We'll be showing you data-driven testing, parameterization of data from Excel, from the database, which can be Oracle database or SQL Server database. I'll be showing you that, how to do that. And a lot of other things. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through what is called the creation of the mock services. All right. So one of the topics which I cover, I'm going to give you a brief idea of what it is. In our course, we go into great depth of dealing with mock services, but here at least I'm going to get you introduced to what is a mock service, what is the need for us to use mock services and whatnot. All right. Okay. For that, let us go ahead and then open our SoapUI. Again, two different tools, SoapUI Pro, SoapUI, the open source. Doesn't matter which tool you want to use. SoapUI Pro basically is a little better in the sense that it gives you the ability to do things by clicking on stuff and then making things happen. Okay. I have a workspace here. In the workspace, this is the SoapUI YouTube demos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and then add a project to it. I could start as a new SoapUI project, or I could import some of my existing projects. I'm going to start with a new SoapUI project. I will go ahead and then put the WSDL URL. This is one of the web services which we are hosting at TrainingRite.net. And basically, if I have to give you the URL of that, that would be the URL. Oops. Okay. Increase the font a little bit. Make sure that this is not set at 72. Probably I was doing something before. Okay, so this is going to be the URL. Right, TrainingRite.net, TRWS, TrainingRite Math Web Service, TrainingRite Math SoapUI Web Service.asmx, WSDL. Okay, so that's gonna be my URL, which I'm gonna be putting it in over here. The name of the project which we give is the TrainingRite Math Soap Web Service. Okay, going to be creating the request for all operations. Create sample request for all operations. Yeah, go ahead, do that. What is a sample request for all operations and all that? If you are taking a course with us, you would we will be covering each and everything in here. By the end of this course, you're going to come out as a super duper guy as far as web service testing is concerned with SoapUI. Anyways, let's get started. So what this is doing is it's going to go ahead and then create the two interfaces. One is the TrainingRite Math SoapUI Web Service Soap. The other one is the backup of that on a separate port. We don't need that, so I'm going to go ahead and then remove that. Once I remove it, I'm going to be left with this, and then there are certain operations in here. The interface is this, and which is a web service, and then there are certain operations in there. And based on what these operations are, it is going to have a request and a response. So the request over here for my edition is, if I just go in and then take a look into the request, what I have is I could be passing two parameters to it, and then eventually expect that it would return me with some data. So let's say if I use the raw or the open source part of it, so this is going to be the schema of that. This is my schema, and as you can see, the schema of the request, and then basically I'm going to get a schema of the response based on what my input parameters are going to be. Again, it could be a little overwhelming for those of you guys who have no experience with XML, no experience of web services and all that. That's basically what we do in that course. I walk you through each and everything as far as a web service. What is a web service? how does a web service gets deployed onto different web servers. So we'll be talking about what are the different web servers out there in the industry. Tomcat, Apache, WebSphere, WebLogic, JBoss, Internet Information Server, and many other application servers, web servers. So we're going to be showing you how you could be taking a web service, like for instance, in this case, this is the web service, right? This web service is, we are hosting it on our website, which is TrainingRite.net. So I'm going to be showing you all the details of this web service in terms of the visual document. Again, for those of you who are brand new or have never heard anything of web services and all that, this is going to be a little bit overwhelming, but don't worry about it, because in my course I'm going to be walking you each and everything in here. What does this mean? What is that? What is that? Right? So basically, we're going to be covering everything, as I said. So in this short video, I'm going to be quickly walking you through how we are doing this mock service. So I'm going to be creating a mock service, showing it to you right in front of you as how that mock service would work, and what basically is the need for that mock service. Now, what do you understand by the word mock? I think the word mocking, I mean, we have mock interviews for those of you guys who are going for, preparing for jobs. You might, some of the companies or the company you're working for might be preparing you for mock interviews. I mean, I'm talking about consulting positions. So mock is when the real thing is not available, right? So when you're not doing the real thing, you're mocking it, right? So it can be considered as a kind of like a simulation, right? Now the question is, why do we do mocking, right? The reason we do mocking is because let's say in this case, I got to show you first of all how the web service works, and then we'll talk about why we are doing mocking in this case. So for the web service to work, it's a simple web service. It is going to do the web service has got 4 operations here. In fact, 5 operations. One of the operation is addition. So we are going to enter some input data, which is going to be 100 here, and then this input is going to be 200. And if I run this web service, it is going to go to the endpoint, and at the endpoint we have the web service hosted. It is going to execute that web service and come back with the result. So a developer would have written the code to do the addition, and I'm talking about addition only because this is one of the most simple web service to explain. But then as we go along in this course, I'll be taking you into a lot of much more complex web services, show you everything about how it's gonna communicate with a database. The web service will be connected to a database. How it's gonna go execute the query, get the data back. We're gonna be doing all that. For now, I just want to make this point of like why do we use a mock web service, and for that I have to lay the plot, and that's what I'm doing here. So let us test this web service. As you can see rather, when you click on that, it is coming back with a response of 300, and this is coming from over here. Okay, just for the heck of it, let's say if I go ahead and then change that 400, and this is like 600, and 400 and 600, I guess it should be 1000, and that's what it is, right? Okay, now if I have this web service is working. Okay, this web service is working. Let's say this is already created. This is working. Let's say if the web service was not created, right? They did not put the functionality in there, which is 400 and 600 is going to be total as 1000. So the developers had not created that. This, I'm talking about simple scenario, right? Let's say this web service is about you pass some input parameters. The input parameters could be your flight number, and this could be, let's say, the destination where you are going, and you want to find out a lot of details from that. So you pass these input parameters to that, and it has to go and get contact with different databases and all that, and then eventually give you some information like let's say on a particular flight, if I give this, let's say this is a CIA web service, let's say, right? Giving you an example of that. Let's say it's a CIA web service, and these days, after 9/11, when the flight takes off, let's say 10 minutes into the air, we want to find out like who is sitting in seat number 42C of an American Airlines which took off from let's say some airport, Dallas Fort Worth Airport. All right. So FAA would like to provide that information only to certain parties. So that is given to you as a web service. So let's say you are that guy, that web service tester, and you have to test that before it gets even deployed. So how would you do that? For that, they would have created that web service. You have to test. So you will be passing from here seat number 42C, and then the flight number, and then the airline number. So that's the parameters you will pass, and then it's gonna go there, get the details, and come back and say that John Smith is occupying that seat, right? And last night he was dining at no, that I'm making it up. They won't say what he was doing last night, but they might tell you something about like what seat he's on. So let's say the developers had not created that. But now we have to test. We got to come up with something so that we could at least have a mock web service which can help you create the test environment for that. So if the web service is not ready, right, it helps we as automation testers work along with the development team. I mean, something kind of like test-driven development, as they call TDD, right? So we can work in parallel with the developers or the team of developers, or we can, maybe at times we just want to go ahead and then create something like a proof of concept or a prototype. So that's the need for you to create a mock service. Okay, now that we know that this is working, let's say that this is not working. I mean, how can you make sure that this is not working? I mean, if they if it was not returning you some stuff, if this web service is down, let's say. I mean, I can eventually make this web service down and show you that it is not working. I guess you pretty much got the idea. Okay, so how do we go about creating the mock service? For that, I'm gonna go here, right click on that, and say that okay, generate a mock service. Okay, so when you do that, generate a mock service, it's coming back and saying that, hey, do you want it like for all these operations? Do you want it for addition? Do you want it for division? Do you want it for all that? Let's say, yeah, I mean, what the heck. It is going to go ahead and then create it on port number 8088, right? Do you want this mock service to start immediately? I'm not going to check that because I'll show it to you as how you could go ahead and then start that mock service later on. So right now, we'll see how that mock service gets generated. Specify the name of the mock service. Well, I can say whatever I want to. So I'm calling it TrainingRite Math SoapUI Web Service, blah, blah, blah. Okay. As you can see in a couple of seconds, there you go. We have our mock service created. So this mock service is going to work for all of these operations. All right. So let's say now if you take a look, before we had over here addition, this is the request. So what this is the response. So what is a mock service? Mock service is nothing but we are trying to kind of like host that web service on our own machine. We are hosting it on our own machine. So this is kind of like a server which we are going to create here. So if at all, let's say if the original web service is not working, we want this mock service to take over and then show that this is how it is. So what does a web service return? It returns a response. So this is what we have to go ahead and then configure. So it is going to return a response. So can we just come up with something as a response for the addition? Because right now we don't have the functionality, but we just want to make sure that the request and the response does work. The functionality is what the developers is going to create later on. So right now I could say that okay, whatever you add, let's say it is going to return as 500, just for the heck of it, so that we know that okay, when you make a request, it is going to respond, right? So that's what it is. So it is going to be 500, let's say. Well, okay, fine. So this is the addition. This is the addition. For the addition, the response is always going to be 500. If you add 1 plus 1, the response is going to be 500. You might say that, what's the point? Why are we doing it? The reason we are doing it is because we can at least test. If the web service is not available, we cannot even test the fact that, whatever we need to do on our side, we should be able to do, and then we don't worry about the exact results. The exact results will come when the developers will have what is called the functionality or the behavior created. Okay. Alrighty. So for now, that's what it is for the response. Now, how can we start this? Likewise, I can do it for the division and all that. Right now, I just did it for the addition part. So how can I start it? So I right click on that and say start, minimize, or restart. So as you can see in a second here, this is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. That means that, okay, it had started. It had started. This mock service has started. Okay, now if I need to go and if I need to, let's say, test some web service, right? In fact, this request, which is this request, if I need to test, the way I'm going to do that, if I come over here, right, and if I do this, it is still going to give me 1000, right? Why? Because here, this is where it is going to go. It is going to go to TrainingRite.net. Now, if I choose this one, this is nothing but this is the mock service which we just created. So if I choose this one, now it will go against this response. In this response, it is 500. So it is going to go against that response. So if I go here, right, make a request, and I say that this request is going to go to this server, right, then let us see what the response is. So when I do that, as you can see, the response is 500. All right, the response is 500. You could go ahead and then you could do a little more about this by going into make your mock response a little bit, what do you say, customize, a mock service with something called the scripting, Groovy script. So I could go in here into the script and I could code something so that it need not be 500. It could be some random number, right? So for that, I would use what is called the context object. And using the context object, I'm going to go and then set a property, right? The property which I'm going to set is, I'll name that property as, let's say, as result. All right, as a result. And that result basically will have a value from the math.random function. All right. So math is a class, random is a function in it. So that's going to put some value in this result. Now that value is what I need to substitute here. So what I'm going to be doing is to substitute, I'll have a $sign, and then I will have this open brace, close brace, and in the open brace I'm going to give the name of the variable, which is result. Okay. So now let me just go ahead, and so this is what we have done. This is what we have done. If I go and make that request now, it is no longer going to give me 500. It's going to give me some number, some random number. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, lo and behold, what we have is 0.781. So what we have seen in this video is the need for a mock service. What is a mock service? The need for a mock service. How do you create one? How do you make sure that you can run your requests and route those requests to the mock service. We also went in there into the mock service and we kind of like customized it using something called a Groovy script. Well, that's about it in this short video. Not so short, I guess. But if you need to learn more about web service testing, we would suggest that you go take a look into our website. Over here would be the class dates, as when we are starting the classes and whatnot. We are currently going and conducting one of these which we started on the January 20th. It is a huge success. I mean, there's a lot of folks who have taken this course, and So if this generates any interest in you, please feel free to give us a call at 732-998-6650 or write to us at sales@trainingrite.com. Along with SoapUI, we have a lot of other courses which we do: business analyst, QTP training, Selenium, SoapUI, Load Runner, and so many other trainings. Well, that's about it for now. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you back in another video sometime soon. Better yet, if we could see you in one of our classes. Thank you again, and happy SoapUI web service testing.